Two dads and a Chaz, putting trophies on the wall. Two dads and a Chaz is talking Green Bay Packers football. Not exactly qualified, but answers the call. Two dads and a Chaz, talking Green Bay Packers football. We gonna break it all down, probably leave out some facts. We gonna make some statements that we'll likely regret. Mostly gossip and rumors made straight off the top. So crank up the air conditioning, cause it's bound to get hot. Two dads and a Chaz, you know we live it and we live it right. Two dads and a Chaz, we gonna break down football for you tonight. Besides some rings and putting trophies on the wall. Trophies, y'all. Two dads and a Chaz is talking Green Bay Packers football. Yeah, we talking Green Bay Packers football.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Two Dads and a Chaz Football Podcast. We are honored and privileged to bring this information to your ears today. Today, we are focused on the player's perspective. We did bring in someone today that did have some insight, and they're going to give a little bit of that. But really, we want to consider what happened there in Florida. It was sticky. It was icky, and not the kind that Snoop Dogg's talking about. We're talking about Florida Heat and something Green Bay Packers have not done well in. We managed to escape with a win. Next week, we're going up against the Lions. I'm your host, Tyson Fauché, joined, of course, by the other member of Two Dads and a Chaz, the one and only Chaz, Buddy Baby Boy. Say hello, Pete.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to DNC, the Green Bay Packer Pod with Dead Bag.
That's us. And then also the other father that I love to call on. He's pale. He's not a snail. He's Aaron Mayhew. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Hello out there, all of our 2D and a C loyal listeners. Let's talk some back.
That's right. 2D and a C listener. We're glad that we have you, fan. And then also we want to welcome out the Low Boys Foundation. You'll find him not long from now blowing leaves down your block, Mr. Ty Window. What's going on, Ty?
Oh, man, Tyson, you underestimated. We got Packer fans worldwide.
Worldwide, motherfucker.
And we got a special guest this episode.
We do. And this first quarter starts right now. Oh, man. It's never easy, Chazzy.
I know.
It's never fucking easy. Can you tell people what the hell happened down there in Florida just the other day, please?
Yeah, well, I mean, 3 takeaways. I gotta say, I was impressed by a lot this week, but also I think this specific week is going to leave people wondering where are we going from here. So the 3 takeaways I have over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Takeaway number 1: the offense was so versatile. Their ability to win in a number of different ways, with LaFleur scheming things up, or with Jordan Love just being able to out there just doing his thing. Malik Willis out there doing his thing after he pulled his dick. Jayden Reed setting up our game-winning field goal. I think before all of that, Josh Jacobs was probably the dog of the day, individual talent-wise. This team can weather the storm as long as we are having a healthy Jordan Love, so he can be the best version of himself. If we're going to win this Super Bowl, we're going to need him healthy. So put some tape on that gooch, get in the ice bath. Don't get me wrong, Malik did an amazing job, but an athletic Jordan Love is going to give us the W this year. Is leading the lead in interceptions this year, but I think if he takes just a little bit of time to himself, heals up, we're going to be just fine. Back to you, gents.
Why, thank you, Chaz.
Of course.
That was a wonderful breakdown. Let's talk a little bit about the offense. Gentlemen, how do you feel the Packers did last week against the Jaguars? I thought our offense had some really positives. Mayhew, who was a player that you felt really popped out in the game?
Well, Chaz already touched on it. For me, it was definitely a Josh Jacobs day, the kind of day we've been waiting for all season here. Toting the rock for almost 25 times, 125 yards, 2 TDs. And, when Jordan went out, he kind of put the team on his back. Aside from that, I thought it was a little bit of a slow start, kind of found our way in the middle, and then got a little bit conservative at the end. But when you come away with the W, there's not a lot to complain about. Ty, what were your thoughts?
Tucker Kraft continues to impress. He does. Every single week he comes out and he has big impact plays, both momentum-wise but also score-wise. I think he makes us just a much more complicated football team on offense. And it was good to see Kraft have yet another big day.
Chazzy,
Yeah.
Who was the offensive player that you really felt like popped?
Romeo Doubs, for sure.
Bingo.
Romeo Doubs probably had the sickest catch of the game there at the end of the day. I don't know how the hell he caught that ball on that sideline, somehow rolling on the outside, away from his body, one-handed, got up, and wasn't hurt. He was, when we needed him, top-notch player of the day.
He's a cyborg dude. He is quickly becoming my favorite Packer. I can't not love Tucker Kraft. He is the most beautiful tight end I've ever seen. He is the most farm tough rock of a man. But Romeo Doubs, steely, silent, disturbingly emotionless performance as he's just ripping your heart out. It really takes me to a place that I like to be at. But those balls, they got there somehow, and they got there by the quarterback. So I want to touch on those real quick, guys. Jordan Love, as much as he was hobbled early in this game, like first drive, I believe he re-aggravated some part of the injury. It's hard to say which one. It was clear he wasn't able to move a lot. Still, some of these balls, guys, my God, this dude, like the confidence it must take to know, okay, I'm off by this much. I can't move as much, but still know that your arm can get it on its own. Like, he had moments where he had great base and footwork, and other moments where he was literally an all-arm throw, and it was beautiful. Guys, what are your thoughts on quarterbacks? Ty, Jordan Love, before the injury and he was out, how are you feeling about his performance?
I mean, a 60% Love is still a pretty good football player. And I was impressed with, him hanging in there and trying to give his team the best chance to win. And then when he couldn't, taking himself out and giving his team the best chance to win. He's a real team guy, in my opinion. And I was impressed. I was impressed with just like his ability to change so much of his game to be within his new confines of having an injury. Going forward, we can have a lot of confidence in Jordan Love that he's going to be able to adjust, because he's going to end up dinged and hurt. Every football player does. And to be able to adjust your game to fit that, man, this guy is good.
He really is. He's a special player. He's definitely one of the most honest quarterbacks I've ever rooted for. Seems like he's what you see is what you get. He's not playing mental gymnastics, and like, what a bought-in quarterback. Like, really, I would give him the keys to my car and say, you can just borrow it. Go crazy. Drive it however you want, Jordan. You're going to be safe. I trust you. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
Come back whenever you think is good. I trust your decision making. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. But we got another guy too. He's also like a perfect specimen of a person, and that is Malik Willis. If Malik Willis showed up and I had a daughter and she brought him home, I'd be like, marry this man. This is the most polite, kind person I've met that happens to say all the right things, is dialed in. That's a good guy. That's a guy you want.
Oh, we like good fellas. We like good fellas up here. We like good fellas.
We got two of them. We got two not assholes that are incredible athletes that can throw the shit out of a ball.
If only Malik Willis had a second read, we would be set.
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready for that second read. Maybe this might be the day. Don't count him out. This guy,
maybe,
guy's a reader. Me, you. What are your thoughts on Malik Willis? You bought in as me? Because guys, I want to remind you, listeners, I was on this shit before anyone else. We got some lazy podcasts out there. I'm going to give it to you straight. You know what they said when Malik Willis got traded to this team? You know what they said? Oh, it's not even worth covering, because if Malik Willis enters the game, well, the season's over. That's bullshit. That's lazy, guys. You do your research, you realize Malik Willis is an incredible athlete with an incredible backstory, who had an incredible opportunity that was squandered by terrible leadership on the Titans. And now here he is on the Packers, showing you who he is. And they didn't believe me. And I said, no. This isn't just a backup. This is someone you can build a team around.
Man, is he overstating it?
I can't even remember what the question was, but
it's a statement, really.
Is Malik Willis the greatest backup quarterback
ever?
Well,
yes.
For me, Sunday showed kind of two things. So one, like, Jordan goes out of the game when Malik enters. Yeah. Tyson, the raw athleticism of like him knowing when the pocket breaks down, shooting through to pick up 6 or 7. It's like different than Jordan, and it's fun to watch. Number two is that LaFleur gets up on the podium after the game talking about that particular play to Jaden Reed, how they talked about during the week, maybe like introducing it, and they're like, no, let's can it. We're not going to do it. And then Vrabel was like, hey, I saw something in their defense. I think this play might work. So they pull the trigger on it. Malik has never even practiced this play. And it was the entire offense executing perfectly, but he laid a goddamn dime right in Jaden Reed's hands to set up the go-ahead. I mean, what else can you say? The guy just keeps coming in and finding a way to get it done. So, yeah, man, huge Malik fan.
I'm a huge fan of him more than anyone, really. That's the point I was trying to make, is that I am the biggest fan, and I was the most right.
We can all be fans,
Malik Willis.
right, Tyson? But you just get to be the most fan.
The mostest, the biggest.
Which is why you'll kind of be a Broncos fan next year, because your guy Malik will be starting.
Guys, I want to look forward on this. Listen, if he comes out here and he gets the start and he plays this next game and he does so well, I think we got a slash situation. You got to get this guy on the field. If you could be throwing to a guy who's a potential running back who also could throw it down the field 50 yards. Yeah.
Taysom Hill, this dude?
At this point, I'd love to see Malik Willis be an intricate part of us winning the Super Bowl, not just the way that we didn't lose on our journey. Like, I feel like he's a weapon that we possess, and he's probably too good to be a backup for more than just this 1 year, considering how hard it is to get a good quarterback in this league. If I was the Packers, obviously regular season, backup quarterback. But once we get to the playoffs, let's Taysom Hill this motherfucker. Who's with me?
I'm 100% with you. Let's have two quarterbacks on the field. There's no rule that says we can't. We can have two quarterbacks out there. We're blowing Matt LaFleur's mind right now.
No, this team
but
is
we
awesome.
got to be moving on.
This team is awesome. This offense is awesome. I can't move away from offense without mentioning a guy that would never get mentioned, number 30 on our team, the running back who closed out the game not once but twice in his time here. This guy is someone from Miami.
It's Chris Brooks.
Chris Brooks was one of the most selfless plays I've ever seen, laying down, ensuring that win. He could have went and got his very first NFL touchdown, been a part of history forever, but instead he helped us secure the win. He did some great blitz pickups. He is a solid mention for me, and I couldn't move away from offense without saying, Chris Brooks, welcome to the family. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with defense after this.
Yeah, we talking Green Bay Packers football.
Welcome back to Two Dads in the Chaz football podcast. We are breaking down the previous opponent, which was the Jaguars. I want to talk a little bit about defenders in the game. Chazzy, who was a standout defensive player in your eyes in this matchup?
Well, in my opinion, he was a standout and not the way that I would hope that he was. I got to talk about Kenny Clark just a second. This guy's been with us a while now, and I didn't realize until I heard it on the podcast and did a little digging myself, but this guy has 0 sacks and 0 tackles for loss in the last 8 games. I don't know if you know this, but that's every game that we've had so far. So either we got to make some moves or we got to sit him down or we got to figure something else out for him.
Wow, Chazzy. I didn't expect you to go negative first, but I got to agree with you. I think that you definitely got a point. Kenny is, since the contract's really not been physically able to perform. I don't know if it's a matter of his an injury or what, but it just doesn't seem like he's getting much push. Ty?
It may just be a matter of scheme. Look, not every guy, every position was going to win when Hafley comes in and changes the scheme. Hafley's scheme may just be this nose tackle takes on 2 blockers every time. And that's not going to lead to Kenny Clark big stats. But Kenny's out there doing the hard work of taking on a center and a guard every single time. So I'm not ready to put him on the hot seat yet. But, yeah, the production, you guys are onto something there. Chaz, nice eye. Where is Kenny?
Yeah, where is Kenny? I want to real quick touch on another one on the defensive line. Devontae Wyatt makes his return this week. Certainly had some impact. He seems to be a lot of the heart and soul of our defensive pressure in terms of the line rush. I'm pretty happy to have him back. It seems like he's gotten about 6 inches wider this year. I don't know if he got smaller pads. Something's going on. This guy is the throw him out the club guy of the team. It definitely feels like he's the bouncer. And I'm loving having him back. I'm hoping we can get him more stamina, because it feels like our pass rush pretty much starts and ends with him. Week 1, it seemed like he looked real hot right off the bat. And then by the second half, he was out of gas, and it looked like coming off the injury, about the same rotation. However, that picked up a little more every game, and I'm hoping that this next game we can do that. I was going to ask Tony if there was a way that you can improve stamina from one week to the next that quickly on a big guy. I don't know if there's a thing you can do for that, but it'd be nice to see, because he is my defensive player to watch of the game and kind of the one that I expect to get pushed. Mayhew, any defensive players you saw in that game that really stuck out?
I'm back with Edgerrin Cooper again, guys.
Love it.
I love this rookie. They kind of brought him along slowly, but it's clear that this guy might be the best linebacker on our entire team. He just moves with a different kind of speed, whether he's blitzing or in this game, some great coverage, broke up a pretty key pass, and also the forced fumble strip sack was kind of like a turning point for the game in general. I absolutely love this kid, and can't wait to see what else he throws down the rest of the year.
Even though he's young, the youngest players are kind of driving the success on this defense. One of the guys we lost, Williams, number 33, left with a pulled hamstring. He'll likely be out for another week, and I think that was definitely felt. But this rookie class seems to really be making a big impact on defense. Mayhew?
What was weird is I'm watching the defense just start to change a little bit. I'm seeing Bullard's name constantly more and more and more, and they didn't announce that Williams was out until like very late in the game. And it's like, okay, this is starting to make sense. A little bit of like the domino effect trickling down. I think it just says what this rookie Williams, like the impact he has on this team already. And I hope he can make it back quickly.
Yeah, I really hope he can too. Regardless, it seems like Bullard is in for a lot more playing time. Likely that will put Keyshawn Nixon back in the slot, but it's hard to say. We got a lot of injuries to kind of maybe go through. Maybe we can do that after the half here. So let's just jump right ahead to game balls. I'm going to go first. For the second week in a row, this person has come in and done their job, and he happens to be on special teams, and he happens to sound like a special burger that McDonald's would serve if they served burgers made of men, and that'd be the Brandon McManus. With the McManus burger, extra pickles, he's getting it done right down the middle. I really appreciate having a kicker that I don't need to think about outside of when he's on the field, and then he does his job and goes away. Again, that's what we're looking for. Game ball for you, Mayhew, for this game.
I'll grab the low hanging fruit here. Josh Jacobs. I already touched on it, man. That's why you pay that guy that amount of money. And I love the way he changes the dynamic of our running game. Like, I love the Aaron Jones era, like the quick slasher. There's something about a bruiser that can just break the tackles, earn yards the hard way. And he's fun to watch, man. So I hand it over to him.
Fucking love that guy. I love the way he runs. I love the jab steps. I love the jukes. This guy is like the running back I always wanted to cheer for on my team. I'd have to watch other teams have them. Be like, God, look at that guy go. Can you imagine if we had someone who did that sometime? That'd be something. It's kind of nice to see that Alabama born to win running back come in here and stump around, make people look silly. I love it. Ty. Game ball, baby. Who is it?
That's a good choice. There are a bunch of good choices. I'm going to go Xavier McKinney. Picked up his 6th league-leading interception. But more than that, he's a presence. And he's becoming more and more of a presence as this season grows. He's everywhere out there. He is a ghost. And he just appears near the ball, near the play. The interception was just so diabolical. He tricked Trevor Lawrence into throwing it at him. I mean, that's next level scheming. I just love when you're waging psychological warfare and winning that hard, tricking the quarterback into throwing it at you. So that's my game ball for this one.
That quarterback looked like a trick. I'll tell you what, that was one attractive man. I'm a straight fella, but those eyes and that hair. Oh God, Trevor, he's got curves.
Sounds like Tyson's gay for Trevor.
That's not a normal fella. That's something going on there.
Have you guys ever seen Chaz? You can find this. There's literally, when he was in college, there's a girl that looks like his identical twin, and they would like take pictures. It was like, Chaz, you'll find it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely loved when he was talking shit to Xavier McKinney. Are you fucking crazy? I'm gonna kill you. What did you just do? You think you're safe? Oh my God. Chazzy game ball.
It's got to go to my boy Tucker Kraft singles, man. This guy was out there eating all day on National Tight Ends Day. This guy is also not only selflessly playing and doing some amazing blocking work for this fucking
Incredible
team on
blocking
offense.
work.
But like he is out there, and I want to see him continue to succeed. I want to see him getting 90,000 touchdowns a game. 90,000 touchdowns a game every single time, this guy.
Yep.
I don't know what they're feeding him, but he needs to eat more of it, bud.
A lot of Kraft singles, it sounds like.
90,000.
90,000. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this.
Yeah. We talking Green Bay Packers football.
At this time, we are going to welcome out, for the first time ever, an actual athlete to the show. We are very lucky and privileged to have Mr. Tony Crissinger-Hill to the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Crissinger-Hill. Tony, say hello to the people.
Hi, people. How you doing? Packer fans. Go Pack Go. Diehard Packer fan here. Thanks for having me, guys. Let's have a good show.
The three of us are clearly athletes, just you can tell by the way we look, but we haven't actually, been discovered by any teams at any point in our lives. Whereas you actually had a nice little playing career. Can you tell a little background?
Well, I can tell you, it's a long story, Tyson. Just to kind of give you a background of who I am. Obviously, I was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin. I spent 17 years in Wisconsin, played football at Middleton High School. I started my freshman year, so I was pretty raw. I didn't really know the game, but my brother was a big football player, Middleton High School Cardinals, and he played with Mayhew's brother as well. And they had a very successful team, and they were very talented. And that kind of made me fall in love with football, just seeing, the respect my brother got and his teammates, peers in the school. So, I kind of fell in love with the shine and stardom of the football aspect. I enjoyed that part of my life. But when I got to high school, I kind of got the peer pressure kicked in from my brother, and he's like, hey, you got to play football. And so I had a ton to learn. Shout out to Larry Myalik. He was a former Atlanta Falcon. He was one of the first coaches that really taught me how to run routes and catch the football and get open. And, learning from him, it was just an honor. Eventually I moved to Florida my senior year of high school. I continued to play football down there. I went to Tampa Jefferson High School, which we had 12 seniors go Division I. We lost in the semifinals to go to the Florida State Championship. You can't play defensive back here. We got 5 guys already that are pretty talented, and they're going Division I. But we do have an open receiver position. So the type of person I was raised to be and who I am is, hey, I got to put the work in. The new guy shouldn't be given anything at the end of the day. You got to earn it. You got to prove yourself. And that's always the mentality I've had. And I went into Jefferson. I proved myself, had a pretty good season, and then rolled into a scholarship to play football in college, and went through that whole process of deciding what university I wanted to go to, and ended up choosing Florida Atlantic University. So I went to FAU, put up some pretty good numbers. We were brand new.
They're gaudy. They're gaudy numbers. What they
Sorry to be long-winded. I told you it was a long story, but we put up some good numbers. We were a brand new football team. We never had a football team until 2001 at FAU. So I kind of want to be a part of building something, and let me go start something to build something. And Howard Schnellenberger, he had a great legacy with, Louisville and the Miami Hurricanes, and also the Miami Dolphins. So, he had the name and the brand identity, and he kind of sold me the dream. So I went there to build the university at FAU. I had some great seasons. So I left my junior year of FAU and entered the I would say I entered the draft. I was draft eligible, but I didn't get drafted. So I was just kind of doing the tours, trying to get on an undrafted free agent. As an underage guy from a small school, it's a difficult task, to say the least. So, I worked my butt off. I tried to get a look. I had a couple shots. I went up to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tried out for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like an unrestricted free agent. They didn't have room for me at the time. So I had a couple good experiences there, but I ended up going to Calgary, Canada, was in the CFL for about a month, and then roster issues came up, and they have to have a certain amount of Canadians and all that kind of stuff. So that's what the coach tells me, obviously. But to make a long story short, I got cut.
So you play with a bunch of different quarterbacks. I'm kind of curious a little bit if you could talk to me about that. I'm assuming different level, different skill sets, different level of quality to the quarterbacks. How big of a difference does that make? And were you ever in a locker room that had a carryover of the same players from one year to the next, and you felt that boost from a quarterback that saw more of the field.
Sure. Well, I mean, as we all know, quarterbacks are super important, but I think with a lot of fans, and I'm not trying to be, insult anybody here, but I don't think a lot of fans really understand what goes into the quarterback position and how much support the quarterback position actually needs for that guy to be successful. I mean, I'm sure obviously there's a lot of fans that understand it, but a quarterback can have all the talent in the world. For example, we just came off playing the Jaguars. I mean, some people can't stand Trevor Lawrence, but I'll be honest, I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he's a great quarterback. I just think that what they have around him, it's not sufficient. His O-line, he's constantly under pressure. If you're under pressure as a quarterback, it's a lot harder to make proper decision. And especially when you're younger, if you're a young guy that's under a lot of pressure, you see some of these guys that come into the NFL at quarterback and they have a lot of talent, and then they throw them on the field and they end up losing that confidence because they're getting beat up. They don't believe that they can do it because they're losing. And it's just, to me, it's more your team's not prepared more than the quarterback's not prepared, if that makes any sense. So, like, if you look at some of the top teams in the NFL right now, like, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Packers, the Bills, San Francisco, I even throw the Rams, Detroit, obviously. I throw all those teams to the top. The one thing that you look at those teams is they have the same coach and the same quarterback. Camaraderie, experience with the same group is very important when it comes to football. And that's what I love about this Green Bay Packers team is that, we have Love and we have LaFleur in their second year, but Love's kind of been in the system. So my expectations for Love last year were maybe a little bit higher than other people, because if you've been in the system for 4 years, I expect you to be able to go through your progressions. If a play breaks down, I expect you to be able to be a little bit more experienced than a guy that's in his first year. So I was proud to see Jordan do that last year. But at the end of the day, quarterbacks are judged on what? Statistics and success, right? So, I mean, there's your quarterbacks that have the fantastic statistics. There's your quarterbacks that have the fantastic success. And I think it's just kind of a balance of both to determine, if a quarterback's a great quarterback or not. But like I said, that camaraderie, that experience, that goes a long way when it comes to any kind of offense or finding a rhythm within an offense. I mean, take the Patriots, for example, have a young quarterback in Drake May. I don't think their playbook's as deep as a Packers playbook. Can't open up the playbook for a guy that just got there, so your team's kind of, you're already limited as a team.
Just for the layman's here, what do you mean by when you say open up your playbook? What are you referring to?
There's sight adjustments. Well, the sight adjustment, what that means is if I as a receiver, if I see a certain coverage, I'm changing my route automatically based off that coverage. So, like, that's for example, if you're in the slot and you see a two deep safety look and you see those safeties start to split, well, now automatically you're going to try to run in between those two safeties. Your route could be a corner route, it could have been a post route, it could have been a curl, but the quarterback knows that when we see this coverage, you need to take the middle of the field. And that's why you see a lot of those, a lot of teams, they'll throw that, they call it the ear shot right behind that linebacker, because that linebacker's job is to chase that middle of the field. And usually he's turning and running and his head's not turned to the quarterback. So you can take that ear shot and complete that pass over the middle because the safeties have split. So that's when we talk about sight adjustment. That's what a sight adjustment is. Or like if you see a two deep safety look and that safety rolls down to cover three, now we know it's cover three. Now I'm gonna go with my cover three principles that I've been taught within the offense.
We've been gloating about this receiving core on these Packers all season long. It looks like every one of them is a tough guy, willing to go over the middle, put his body on the line. Does it look like a group of wide receivers to you as well, or is there a guy who kind of stands out? I mean, we're always talking about, oh, well, this guy's the number one. This guy's the number one. We kind of haven't even really picked one. What are your thoughts on this wide receiving core?
Well, I got some thoughts. We don't have a number one receiver, and I know that's cliche, and that's what Matt LaFleur will tell you as well. But we don't have a number one receiver, but we have 5 or 6 really good receivers. That's almost more of a luxury than having that one superstar receiver that you see. I think they all bring a little bit different ability to the table. I love what Jaden Reed brings as far as going over the middle, getting your jet sweeps and your reverses, things like that. That's the stuff that keeps teams off balance, and that's very important when you're talking about NFL football, is keeping those defenses off balance, because that's one thing that you always notice with Jaden Reed. He's good at running the motions. He's in great shape to run all that motion. That's the one thing as a former player, that's one thing I'm most impressed with, is the guys that can. These offenses are so high paced. You can run all that motion. You can go run a 40-yard route, make a catch, get some yak after the catch. Then you go back, you're running a no-huddle offense. You come up to the ball, and now you got you run a motion again. So to me, the most impressive thing is just the conditioning. You got to have a tough receiver, and I think Romeo Doubs is a very tough receiver. I think I love what he brings to the table for the Packers as far as his toughness and his route running. Looks like it's getting better every single year. I think you can really tell he focuses on the details of the route running, route depths. I love our receiving core. Dontavion Wicks, he has fantastic feet work. You can see his feet. I mean, he's reminiscent of a Devontae Adams, an early Devontae Adams. I think he's got that type of ability. I think he is our best press coverage wide receiver. So if we get a team that show a lot of zero blitz and want to press us with good corners, I think Dontavion's one of the guys that you're going to game plan to get the ball to, because he can beat that press coverage and create that separation. I'll be completely honest. I mean, if you would ask me 2 years ago about Christian Watson, I'd had a completely different opinion on him, but he's really impressed me, to be honest, guys. This season, it's not his play on the field so much that's impressing me. It's just what he's doing as far as being a teammate. He started his career with one of the biggest drops I've ever seen in my life when Rodgers put in his breadbasket versus Minnesota, his first play ever. And you're like, gosh, the guy can get open. Like, he was open by a mile. He can run. He's got the size. He's got what you want. And he just drops the ball. And I think he lost confidence. Rodgers lost confidence. I lost confidence. Packer fans probably lost a little confidence. And he went through some bumps in the road. Then he dealt with the injury stuff. And, it hasn't been smooth. But I don't want a guy that's life's been smooth, to be honest with you. You got our stat guy, right, Mayhew? How many times have you seen a Green Bay touchdown run, and Christian Watson's the one that's blocking the guy at the end of the play, and the guy's scoring a touchdown? I would challenge you, Packer fans, to look it up. You're going to find at least 4 or 5 touchdowns where you see Christian Watson making blocks that are springing these guys and getting them to where they need to go, and that's the end zone. So at the end of the day, like, stats are stats, and those will come for certain guys. But I think as long as LaFleur can manage the egos, he can manage just trying to win football games. I think I'd take a wide receiver core like the Green Bay Packers before I take probably any receiver core out there. People can critique that all they want. I mean, I'm not looking for names. I'm looking for guys that are going to catch balls and move the chains and score a touchdown.
I've always been curious when I watched the game and I played myself, like, shit talk. Does it work? Is it necessary? I mean, like, some guys just, throw the ball and don't say anything, but certainly cornerbacks seem like it is a major part of their game to get into your head, to flip, your script and get you unfocused on what you're supposed to do. And then some wide receivers feel like it just lights them up. First of all, were you the kind of player, first question, that shit talk made you play better or worse? Or were you just like a Barry Sanders, throw the ball and ignore him type? Which I don't see that, but maybe you are. I don't know.
Well, that's a question I would be entertained to see you ask my former teammates. But yeah, I talked a lot. I was a talker.
Okay, now what is the craziest shit you said? Just say it now. I want to hear it on live television. Go.
The craziest thing I've ever said. I mean, I wasn't too disrespectful as far as, like, I wasn't trying to be too disrespectful, but I used to tell guys, I was like, there's no reason for you to be mad right now. I mean, you got to blame your parents. At the end of the day, they didn't give you enough talent. So you lost before the game started. I've already beat you. Just kind of poke at them a little bit, like, hey, this is easy. But
it does seem like it's important, though. Like, otherwise it wouldn't happen so often.
Oh, I mean, it's super important. It just kind of depends on who you are. Some guys will take you out the game. Some guys will put them in the game. I'd like to think I was a guy who got me into the game. I brought that to the field, and I wasn't going to let anybody get in the way of that. So, and that involves sometimes chattering a little bit, and that picked my game up. It kept me alert, kept me ready to go. But, in a game as intricate as football, it depends on what position you are. I mean, I don't want to see the quarterback talking too much junk. I want you to get the play. I want you to get the next play and be ready to go, thinking about, how we're going to manipulate this next defense.
I want to talk a little bit about injuries. What do they call it? A strained groin. They say he's going to get treatment and he'll be game time decision, see if he can play this week. What the hell is treatment? If they just rub, I just imagine they got like a bar and they just rub it over the hurt part and you just scream and somehow that makes you better. Is that how it works, or am I wrong on that?
Well, if you got a pulled hamstring, you're trying to repair it. I mean, that's part of the deal. But if you got a sprained ankle, you're going to ice and compression. I mean, whether it's ice and stim for an ankle, stimulation. If you hear someone say ice and stim, that's stimulation is just like you put patches on you and it just kind of creates electricity and kind of makes your tendons fire. But the more your tendons fire, the more it builds up strength in your tendons and your muscles. So it's kind of doing it really fast, giving you more. It's kind of just giving you more reps, if that makes sense. So it's like I could do 10 calf raises, and I did 10 calf raises, or I could put the stem on my calf muscle, and it's basically like I did 1,000 calf raises.
Oh,
so
nice.
It just kind of accelerates, and then after that, you think at 1,000 calf raises, that you'd be pretty sore. Well, yeah, after you're done with treatment, like you said, sometimes you got to rub out that lactic acid or that soreness, or put ice on yourself, just kind of slow down that blood flow to that area. Or treatment is treatment, man. It just kind of depends on the injury that you have. Just some suck. Some treatments are worse than others.
You ever take the shot?
Take the shot.
The shot. What are they talking about? How long is the needle? I got a lot of questions about the shot.
No, so there was guys on my arena team that took Toradol. So I don't know the legalities in the NFL, but in the arena football leagues, there wasn't really. It was kind of a free for all. I was playing against guys that are on steroids. I was playing against all sorts of guys on these, on those drugs. But I figured if I had to indulge in that kind of stuff, I just wasn't ready to play, and so I got to find a new gig. But Toradol is one thing that I've heard, serious painkiller, and you can't really feel much.
I think we as fans just don't appreciate the physical toll that like football in general takes, but coming back from an injury and just it happens so fast. And I'm going, either these doctors are magic. It does the conditioning of an athlete kind of shorten some of that up, because it is true. Like a pulled groin for me would be 3 weeks before I'm not limping,
Yeah.
But I see these athletes come back. Jordan Love came back from a strained MCL. I was out for 3 weeks of work. He's back, same deal, but he's playing football.
Yeah, Ty, I mean, these guys are the elite of the elite athletes in the world. Like they're not normal humans. You look at all the major sports in the world, and they're all fantastic athletes in their own right. But there's just something about football players. It's not only you have to be a fantastic player, you got to be a tough SOB. You're going to take hits. You're going to be in pain. You had to catch the ball, whether you had 2 jammed fingers, a broken finger, whatever it was, you had to catch the football. And a lot of fans, they don't understand, what a lot of guys are going through. You can't, if a guy's leg's broken, you can see it on the broadcast, but you're not going to see a guy that, finger gets stuck in a jersey trying to block somebody, and then the next play they throw him the football, So I appreciate, the grind that those guys have to go through, but they're elite athletes. They're trained. Those are the things that you have to work on every single day in practice, because it builds that muscle memory. There was a point in my life where it came to catching the football, I didn't have to think about catching a football. Like I don't have to think about looking the ball in. It was kind of robotic. It was automatic, eyes to the ball. You don't really start to think about that stuff. And I think that comes with repetition and practice. And I think the Packers do a fantastic job of that, just from like the interviews I see breaking down practices with LaFleur and stuff, is they really do pay attention to the small details. Because when you're running 22 miles an hour, and you got 2 guys trying to take your head off, you don't have time to think about the details. They have to already be ingrained or ingratiated in your mind. So that comes with that muscle memory and just constant practice. So you see people practice things, you're like, what are they doing? Why are they practicing this drill? Or, you're never good enough.
Hey, Tony, when we talk about practicing things being second nature, and we're talking about a game that these athletes have played their entire life, what leads to poor tackling, right? Because they've been taught about form. Is it just effort? What is it? Because it tends to plague us like year after year, like in small doses, I feel like, at least like this year. But can you give me like any kind of insight there?
Yeah. I mean, what if you were in the NBA and you didn't shoot a ball for 6 months? Do you think you'd be hitting all your shots right away? Probably not. And I think that's what happens with tackling. They don't tackle. The training camps aren't as physical as they used to be. They don't have the same amount of time to work on tackling. You got guys that make a lot of money, so it's hard to tell somebody that makes a lot of money, hey, we're going to bang you up today. They're not going to be up for it. Some guys feel like they don't need to practice tackling. They're already good enough. So it's like you got to kind of have that fine line. It's like, hey, he needs practice, but I don't need practice, so I'm not going to hurt myself, and risk my, my contract situation or whatever. So that's where coaching comes into play, and kind of trying to find that balance of, hey, we know we need to practice tackling. We don't have the time in practice. We don't want to jeopardize our teammates. So I think that's why you see a lot of these joint practices going on. players playing in the preseason. For some of the better teams will play their players in the preseason because that's your time to tackle, to take that hit and see how you handle that hit. Because some guys hit somebody and they got a concussion. It's because they haven't hit anybody yet. You got to take some hits. I mean, the body has to kind of be conditioned into taking those hits, and tackling, you're hitting. I mean, you're putting your body in front of some other player. You're putting your whole body in front of them. You're trying to explode into them. It's a car accident. So it's what if I asked you, hey, Mayhe, you want to go drive your car into the wall right now at 5 miles an hour?
You want to do it 14 times in the next 3 hours?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So it comes with practice. A lot of things, and practice. But the NFL, I mean, the coaches, just listen to the coaches in their interviews. It bothers them more than it bothers me. As a former player, you look at it from a player aspect. You're like, all right, yeah, some of the practices were ridiculous. We were doing stuff that we didn't need to do. They were tiring us out. We weren't ready for the game. We're just getting banged up for no reason. And the players they lose faith in their coaching staff. It's like, why are we doing this? Why am I doing Oklahoma drill with a 300-pound defensive tackle and I'm 208 pounds? I got to play a game in 5 days. Let's do stuff that's going to benefit the team and also our players. But that's the one thing that it's hard tackling. I mean, that's hard to simulate. I mean, you can put all the dummies you want out there or whatever. A dummy's not moving.
It looks like they're tasting rolling donuts is what I see him doing out there.
Yeah, that's just more hit points and angles. So like I said, muscle memory. That's like, you're trying to take the right angle to make a tackle. So when it comes time to make that tackle, I might not have practiced exploding into you, but I've practiced taking the right angle to get to where I need to get to my hit point. So now I need to make sure that I'm wrapping up. You can't just drop a shoulder on Josh Jacobs. He's 225 pounds. He's strong. He's a strong guy. He's going to run up out of that. They got balance. That's another thing. Balance is so important when you're on the offensive end. The guy's trying to hit you. If you can keep those feet going and keep your balance, you're a lot more difficult to tackle. So on the defensive end, if you're not running your feet on a tackle and you're just trying to throw a shoulder into a guy and not running your feet, he's going to disappear from you. He's going to take your hit as momentum and he's going to use it to go that direction. At least a good player should be doing that.
That's a foot movement issue when you see that. That's interesting.
The more balance you have and the quicker your feet move, the quicker you can run your feet underneath you to keep that balance. So.
Well, hey, we've been talking to Tony Crissinger-Hill here. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get into the previous game that he was actually at in Jacksonville, Florida. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after that. Welcome back to Two Dads and a Chaz. We are back for part 2 of our interview with Mr. Tony Crissinger-Hill, former athlete and current friend of the pod. He's going to give us some more breakdowns. He actually happened to be at the game. Tony, I got a question. Being in that game, first of all, was it super hot for Florida watching the Packers perform?
Anytime the Packers get within the Southeast region, I will attend the football game. So yeah, I was at the game. It was a great experience. I brought my son, my 9-year-old son. It was his first Packer game. He's been to a Badger game, but he's never been to a Packer game. So I just, I want to take him, and we had a good little bonding experience there, and a fantastic game. I mean, I thought it was a good environment. I thought Jacksonville actually had great support from their fans. I was impressed with the Jacksonville fandom and kind of some of the tailgates that I saw, and they seemed like they supported their team the entire way. They're pretty loud when they made some plays. But Green Bay we had a huge presence in the stadium as usual. You could hear every time the Packers did something, you'd hear the eruption of the Green Bay Packer fans just kind of overtake the stadium. And you guys that have been doing a away game with the Packers, that's kind of the one thing we do. And I was talking offline with Ty, and I was just saying it's almost like Green Bay Packer fans that not a lot of Green Bay Packer fans live in Green Bay. We're all kind of all spread out through Wisconsin, or we've migrated somewhere else in the state or in the United States or in the world. And our one chance to see the Packers is when they come close to us, So you see a lot of guys go to Packer games when they're in LA or wherever that game is. Those are people that formerly used to live in Wisconsin. They just want to check their team. So that's who I am. I'm a fan that I want to see at least one game a year, and I'll try to go to. It's a privilege to be able to go to a Packer game for anybody. They got the tickets sold out 30 years in Lambeau. So you got to try to find a way to catch a Packer game. If they come in your area, make sure you check them out. It's a great experience. Even if you're not a Packer fan, I think you'll enjoy yourself.
How was it in terms of weather for Florida?
And
Florida
addressing the weather, it was a very hot day in Florida.
Okay.
It wasn't typical for an October day. I was extremely hot. I kept worrying about my kid, and his status, and I kept asking him, "Hey, how you feeling? Are you too hot? Do you want to go into the club and cool down a little bit?" So we went inside there a little bit. But yeah, if you had to sit out in that sun for 3 hours, it'll drain you. I watched one of your guys' other programs, and I think Mayhew kind of went into it. It's like anytime we go into Florida, we struggle, man. And we do. I mean, that humidity is different. That heat is different, especially when you're talking about a team coming out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, in October, November, December. Like it's a completely different world. So the humidity will eat you up. Sometimes I can't believe I used to practice in it every single day. It kind of blows my mind. I'm like, how did we make it through that? But the Florida teams, they go through it every day. So you got to be ready to play 3 hours of tough football, and you're going to be hot, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be tired, but that's just the type of game it's going to be when you go to play in Florida.
You see a lot of draft picks coming out of that state, regardless of where they went to school. It just seems like if you can do it in Florida and Texas, you're probably pretty hardcore. So, so going back to that game, obviously, we had Jordan Love for the first half, Malik Willis for the second half. What did you see in terms of our offensive strategy change when we had to change quarterbacks? Which version do you feel like is a bigger threat, not just to Jacksonville, but kind of moving forward in terms of the offenses that we threw out there?
Oh, I think the most dangerous, to answer the latter part of your question, is a combination of both, to be honest. I think Jordan Love, like I said earlier, he has a lot of experience. He knows the offense. We can get into a lot of different sets. We can rotate personnel to different positions, and he can articulate that in the huddle, which is a difficult thing to do, kind of going back to our conversation about being a quarterback. Like, you got to be able to reposition guys and be able to understand, different route concepts within the same play. That's one thing I see LaFleur do quite a bit is he runs plays that are very similar, but he'll change that personnel within those positions. So it's very important that the quarterback's kind of on point with that.
But Malik certainly brings an element to the table that is not on the table with Jordan as much. It is a last resort, and that is the scrambling.
Well, I think the game plan changes when Malik comes in. The reason why I was kind of addressing what Jordan can do, I don't think Malik kind of has that experience to kind of change plays at the line. He can probably change the certain plays at the line, but I think Jordan has a little bit more depth and knowledge of the playbook, so he can get you into more options there. And, sometimes in football, it's good to have more than one option of a play to go to. I see when Malik comes in and when we game plan, knowing Malik's going to be our starter, it's clearly a run-heavy offense. And I love to run the football. I'm old school. Even though I played receiver and tight end, I'm all about running the football, man. If you can't line up, I used to have a coach that told me, listen, I'll be able to. I want to tell them what play we're running and be able to line up and hit them in the mouth and move the football. And teams that can do that, those are your teams that are dangerous. I mean, you look at how we exited against San Francisco just a couple times in NFC Championship games. They just pounded the ball down our throat to end the game, and they told everybody knew it. Debo's getting the ball; they're going to run it right at us, and they just pounded 7-8 yards every single time. It's just. That is the most demoralizing thing in football is when you line up against a team and they're just pushing you around. At the end of the day, it opens up everything else, and I think that aspect of our game is what is going to propel us into being one of those Super Bowl contenders. Is we need to continue to run the football. I think we kind of get away from running the football. We try to get cute sometimes with the the reverses and the jet sweeps and all the play action looks to keep the team off balance. Part of me wants to see us, hey, let's just line up and hit people in the mouth. And I think when Malik comes in, you get to see that. Like, hey, we got that type of team that they know we're running the ball, but Josh Jacobs is still getting 5-8 yards a carry. And that's what gives me confidence in this Packers team. And I think it's one of the best we've had in a while, is that we can line up, we can run the football. And if you want to pack the box and you want to bring guys down to stop the run, hey, we have a creative enough offensive coordinator and offense that we can hit you over the top. We can beat you in so many different ways. And I just feel like Packer teams in the past when we were successful, we could beat you in so many different ways. You know, I mean, just think about all the times that, you know, Rodgers was having MVP type seasons. And I think in my head, I'm like, shoot, I remember that game where Eddie Lacy was going crazy, you know, or I remember that game where Edgar Bennett was going crazy, or Dorsey Levens, you know. So it's always been an aspect of when we are successful is we have to be able to run the football. And when Malik comes in, we kind of focus on that a little bit more than when Jordan's in. Jordan, I feel like we're kind of more of a passing offense. You know, we want to get him in a rhythm, get him going, which is fine. So that's why I say it's a balance. It's a balance of both. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. No, who would? No, let me ask you hypothetically, where it's Wednesday tomorrow. We shoot this on Tuesday. Let's say tomorrow.
3 a.m.
Yeah. So let's say it's tomorrow. We find out that Jordan Love's going to be very limited in his ability to start. We're making the decision right now who we're starting and who's going to get the reps in practice. Your coach LaFleur making the call right now. You got a healthy Malik Willis that's limited in terms of his knowledge of the offense and what he can do as a whole. And you got a limited Jordan Love that knows the entire offense. Everything's available to him mentally, but physically he's limited. Who are you choosing in this situation to go up against the Lions in their?
Well, I'm going to cheat on this one a little bit because I watched the Matt LaFleur press conference today with the Packers reporters. And he said he hasn't talked to the medical staff yet when it comes to whether Jordan's healthy enough to play or what his status is. So he didn't really give an update there. So I don't really know what Jordan's status is. But, I mean, from my personal opinion and from my experience, I don't think you put him out there with any risk to further injure himself. Muscles and tendons are very difficult things to deal with, and they can linger. And that's the last thing you want, something to linger. But if he's able to move and he feels good, at the end of the day, if he wants to play, only he knows how his body feels. And you have to be able to trust your players that they're going to be honest with you and they're going to tell you the truth. And, you know, if his growing's not feeling good, we can always throw Malik in there. So when it comes to the only thing I'm really concerned about is the practice reps. I mean, you're going to have to split those practice reps. And I would like to think LaFleur would open up the playbook a little bit more for Malik this time if he is the starter. Yeah. Just because he's been here longer. I mean, I thought it was absolutely crazy what he did the first 2 games when he came in after, 18, 19 days on the team, and he's running the Packers offense, and you know, we're beating teams. It was that is so impressive because just to be able to pick up the terminology of a playbook alone is so difficult, but to do that in 2 weeks and be inserted into a game plan, and you're the quarterback of the team that has experience everywhere except for you, that's a tough task, man. You can tell he put a lot of work into it. So I think Malik Willis has done a lot for his personal career to show he's a pro's pro. And I like guys like that. So I think he deserves an opportunity to showcase himself. And I think we all as Packer fans should give him the confidence that we gave Jordan and that we gave Brett, that we gave Aaron. You know, I mean, that's the one thing about the Packers is that we stand behind our quarterbacks. You know, at the end of the day, they're going to make mistakes, and hopefully you guys can understand that they're not trying to make that mistake. You know, we got to stick behind the quarterback because once you turn your back on the quarterback, I mean, he's done. You know, I mean, you got to go a different direction. So that's one thing I give the Packers and their fans credit for is they support their team and their quarterback. And as a player, that gives you so much confidence because you know, hey, I know if I have a good game, the Packers fans are going to love me. But guess what? If I have a bad game, they're going to hold me accountable. And that's kind of the culture that we've created in Wisconsin and Green Bay. And as a player, that's something that's someone holding you accountable constantly is important to make you a better player. Because without that accountability, you can become complacent. And I think the Packers fans help the coaching staff hold them accountable. I mean, that's a luxury for our staff. You know, they got to hold millions of people that will speak up if we see something that we don't like or something's not going the right way. We try to figure it out. You know, I mean, how many times have you guys said and watched the game like, hey, they're doing this. Like, what are we doing? Like, we need to do this. You know, it's like we might not know everything what they're doing, but we can kind of see our flaws and we know what type of Packers teams are successful. So we kind of have that experience. We throw that in there, and that it's got to help you to be held accountable by the fan base. And then to have that support, you know, I mean, that support to know that, hey, when you make a mistake, we're going to stand behind you. You know, you're our quarterback at the end of the day.
You didn't answer the question. Love or Malik, who are you starting, coach?
I'm starting Jordan Love. He's our starting quarterback.
Okay, got it. But let's say Jordan's gimpy and he's like, I think I can do it maybe. And Malik's like, I'm ready, coach. What are you
Well, if
gonna
I
do
think
now?
I can do it maybe as a coach, you can't do it. So there's no
I was-
maybe or I think I can when it comes to the NFL. I mean, you're that's the difference between you being comatose or not, you know? So
I was impressed with Jordan Love. I don't know if it was like self-preservation or it was just it had gotten to that point, but to pull yourself out of the game like that, you know, he was clearly like fighting through it. They were gonna let him fight through it. They were gonna let him take it as far as but when he finally reached the limit, like he did pull himself. Like it wasn't more catastrophic because, you know, and so it gives me trust with Jordan that he's actually got kind of the bigger picture view of things, you know, whether it's his career or the season or his obligation to his teammates or the fans. You know, it seemed like such a mature move and such a difficult thing for somebody to do. But I really trust him now when it comes to his health in ways that I couldn't trust quarterbacks in the past.
well, you hit it on the head. I mean, that was a fantastic point. I mean, it's not easy. No player wants to come out of the football game at the end of the day, and no player wants to be the reason their team loses it. You know, so that's a mature move that you have to make. But at the end of the day, Love, it was probably affecting his game. You don't want that to affect your game, and once you start to notice it's affecting your game as a player, you have to have that responsibility to let the coaching staff know, like, I can't be myself. It sucks, you know. No player wants to come out of the game. You know, I got guys calling me, my Jacksonville buddies, like, hey, I put a bunch of money on Jordan Love to throw a TD and he screwed me. Okay, well, I'm sorry that you lost money, you know, but we're not here to win you a bunch of money. At the end of the day, we're here to win a Super Bowl. So it sucks to see him go down and go out, but yeah, you gotta protect your body. At the end of the day, he's a $200+ million man. I mean, the guy's got to make sure that he's healthy. As a Packer fan, I want the healthy quarterback in there, and I have enough trust in Malik that he can run a solid game plan. Like I said, I just want to see Matt open it up a little bit more, let him throw it around a little bit more.
About the next matchup, you know, I feel like there's a good chance Malik could play. I also am agreed by how locked in and focused he is, and he's shown himself to be a true professional. In my personal opinion, which is not a professional one at all, I feel like he's got a higher ceiling than a backup. Quite frankly, when I look around the league, he seems like he can do things in terms of putting balls in places and athletic ability that I'm not seeing out of other team starters at times. So I'm beyond impressed with him. I liked him, and I want to also remind everybody how I was telling you he is the shit before
You called it, yes, Tyson. You
Called it
called Malik
early.
Willis. We
I
all know
wanted
you
to
wanted him
do
in the
it.
draft, and
Yep. That's
never
one
let
for
us
me.
forget.
You got an eye for talent, huh?
Oh yeah. I say a lot of stuff. How would you attack Malik Willis's version of the Green Bay Packers, knowing that you're going to expand a couple extra things to him? You kind of know how far in the playbook he's going to get to go. It's going to be a run first offense. How would you attack that defense of the Detroit Lions?
Attack the defense or Malik?
Sorry, how would the defense attack Malik and stop him if you're the Detroit Lions?
Okay. Malik, he's a running quarter. He can run the football. So you always have to hold him in the pocket. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is to keep him in the pocket and make him beat you from the pocket. He starts to get outside the pocket or those scrambles, it kind of creates that balance for our offense, because now it opens up the passing game, because it takes a linebacker. You got to put him in the spy. So it opens up the passing game. So I just want to see the passing game open up a little bit more, just because there's going to be a little less coverage, because I would be willing to bet that they're going to bring people into the box, try to stop the run, and make Malik beat them over the top. And if I was a D coordinator, that's probably what I would do.
The opposite, same thing. If you're the Green Bay Packers, are going up against this Detroit defense in their defensive line and some of their secondaries out. With Jordan Love, it's pretty obvious how you want to take advantage of that. With Malik Willis, how would you take advantage of them?
Well, like I said, we got to establish the run. I mean, everything with this Packers offense seems to come off of the running game. So I think it's just very important to establish a run, but they're going to know we're going to try to establish a run. So I'd say I would hope that LaFleur has, 10 plays that he's ready to dial up, that are, ready to beat a tough defense that's in the box. You know, I have a feeling they're going to have a lot of people in the box trying to stop the run, force Malik to throw the football. So as the Packers, I'm gonna run it right at you and see if you can stop it. Now, if you're stopping it and I'm running it right at you, then we're gonna have to open up the playbook. But if I can establish a little bit of a run and let you know, hey, you can bring 9 guys in the box, Josh is still gonna be able to get 5 yards and grind it out. That's gonna open up everything else, the rollouts for Malik and the play action and Tucker in the flat and in the crossing routes. That'll open up. That changes the course of the game. And I think that's our opportunity in this game.
What players are you going to watch in this one?
Well, I'm always watching Big Tuck, man. He's my favorite Packer right now, Tucker Kraft.
Nice.
I like to scout the draft and guys when they're in college. And like I said, I came from Florida Atlantic University, we're a smaller school, and I like to look at the smaller school guys because I think they get overlooked a lot. And one thing that stood out about Tucker is he's a winner. He came from a winning program. He won a national championship. He was one of the best players on his team. I think that's a huge commodity with a player. Someone that's been around a good program, someone that's used to winning. They have that winning mentality. They know what it takes to be a winner. You get some guys from teams that are perennial losers. They have all the talent in the world. You start losing a few games, they're used to losing. So it's like, yeah, you might lose that mentality. But if you got a guy like Tucker Kraft or a guy that, was successful in college, the guys that the Wyatts and the Quay Walkers and the guys from Georgia, they had success. So they've seen it, they sniffed it, they know it. So it's easier for them to hold other people accountable. It just makes your team better in the end if those guys have that winning experience. So that's one thing I look at when I am scouting players. I want to see if you're a winner. And that's the number one most important thing for me when it comes down to a quarterback. And I know I'm kind of getting off the subject here. We can get into that another day, but winning comes first. And how are you impacting your team and making them win? And I think Tucker Kraft is one of those guys that he's so valuable to our team in the pass game, but also in the run game. You got a guy that's willing to put his nose in there and block. He reminds me of a George Kittle type. I really like George Kittle. I got a lot of respect for him. He's a gritty, tough player, and he's going to go in there and block his ass off. And that's for guys that catch the football, that's not an easy thing to do. So I love Tucker. I'll be watching him. I always support him and want to see him. I support tight ends in general. I'm a sucker for the tight ends. I like the tight end position. I think it's a very important position in football. And if you look at teams that won Super Bowls and you look at their tight ends, usually they're pretty darn good. And I think it's one of the most important positions in football because it gives you a receiver element, but you can also run the ball without changing personnel. And when you're talking about the rules of the game now, when you change personnel, they can hold the ball, they can stop substitutions, things like that. I
always feel like the character of an offense is kind of projected through the tight end. I feel like that is the personality a lot of the time of the entire offense. All the stuff. So
you have between the trenches and the guys outside.
It's the whole game. So I always love when we have a strong-willed, impressive tight end. I feel like that goes a real long way towards a team having an identity.
I like Luke. I think Luke can improve on some things. But think that draft, that Goody, it was just amazing. Watching that draft, I'll never forget. I was just like, he's doing everything we need to do. I think Gutekunst is one of the best GMs in the league, and just watching him over the past 3 years, it's been incredible to see what this guy's done for the Packers, what he's put up with the whole Rodgers, Devontae situation, and for him just to keep his head down and his scouting staff out there and find the right guys for this team. It's been unbelievable. You go into that draft and you're like, we need tight ends. Like what's going on here? And then he goes and gets, two big, strong, fast tight ends. Like I was to the point where I was like, hey, if they don't do anything, I'm still okay with it. We addressed what we needed. We gave a new element to our offense. Now let's see these guys work, and hopefully they can become great players. And Tucker and Luke are really trying to put that work in. So I like watching O-linemen. I like watching Josh Jacobs. I like watching the receivers. Like I don't really have one guy that I watch. I do like to focus on the offense side of the ball. I like to look at the offensive line because you get that in the TV view. You get that cut. You don't really get to see the receivers running their routes and stuff like that. So I like to pay attention to the offensive line and who's moving people around and stuff like that. You see that block right there? It's like not a lot of people are excited about the block. But it's like, man, that's what sprung the play. So I respect those guys down there in the trenches, and I don't think they get enough credit at all. And that's the most important part of your team is your offense and defensive line, with the exception of obviously quarterback.
Well, all right, Tone, we're going into the last question here of the interview, and I want to thank you again for joining us today on this very special episode of Two Dads and a Chaz, where we get to really break down nuts and bolts and a player perspective. I really appreciate you being here. What do you think final score prediction is going up against the Lions this next week for the Packers?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here, huh? I'm not going to come on the Packers show and pick anybody but the Packers. You know that. So I got to take the Packers. I think we can pull it off. I'll do 30-27.
Ooh, good game.
With another McManus game-winning field goal.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it, man.
Go Pack, go, right? Hey, guys, I do want to thank you guys for having me on, and good luck with the show. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I think just getting it going, putting in the hard work, guys. Keep your head up. Keep grinding. It's going to grow and grow and grow, guys. And, I'm here to support you guys. Whatever you need, just let me know. But whoever's watching this right now, make sure you tell your friends, your family, everybody to tune into the channel. It's only going to get better. It's only going to keep evolving. So check out Two Dads and a Chaz, man. It's a good time. And I look forward to speaking with you guys again.
Tony,
you were a great guest. Thank you so much.
Last act, man.
Tony, thank you so much for joining the show. We're going to take another break, and we'll be back with some more.
Yeah, we're talking Green Bay Packers football.
And welcome back to Two Dads and Chaz Football Podcast. We appreciate you coming back and joining us. We're going to get into our next opponent. Those goddamn Lions are back. They're back again, and they're causing a ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into them, and that's going to start right now. Detroit Lions, man.
Detroit known for their lions, you know.
They are. They're a lot of natural lion predators. No, they are. They're putting up numbers. That's for sure. They're not afraid to make an example out of somebody. I want to break down the offense here. I'm assuming someone else saw this previous game by the Lions.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
14-52. Are you kidding me? It was like pistol whipping a blind kid. 1-6 to 6-1.
Yeah,
bro. Not only did Raymond get that crazy 90-yard punt return, which was fucking insane, but like Goff is like 58 for 68 with like 887 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 0 turnovers over the last like 3 games. I'm fucking terrified. I'm terrified.
Goff?
Terrified of everybody on that team.
Yeah. That's fair. We should be, because we haven't won a home game against these guys in a minute. I think that trend needs to change. This feels like, to me, a 3 meetup opponent. I don't see we see these guys 2 times. I think we're going to see them in the playoffs too. I just have a feeling this team is one that we're gonna have to deal with. So let's just first talk about what they just did. Their offense, as you said, Jared Goff certainly having a new career, working with one of the best offensive lines in all of football. He definitely feels like he's found a new reason to live. Running backs are pretty incredible on this team.
Jesus.
David Montgomery takes a beating and lays the wood pretty regularly. And Jahmyr Gibbs is probably one of the fastest guys in all of football. The way that he runs, his explosion, his change of direction, everything he does is pretty overwhelming. I'll be honest. He's the guy I really wanted in the draft, and he has really panned out for them. Mayhew, if you have any opinion on this running back squad?
Yeah, it's a killer 1-2 punch, like Montgomery comes in and wears you down. And then if you like blink, all of a sudden Gibbs is running 90 yards down the line and like the crowd's going fucking nuts. That's a lot to contain throughout 4 quarters, and something that this team, the Packers, have struggled with a little bit over the course of the year. So yeah, we got our work cut out for us on Sunday.
Sonic and Knuckles, they call them. Sonic and Knuckles.
I did hear that.
Yeah,
Seems
like we should have thought of that first, but
pretty
it's
good
too.
too.
Blue, I get it. Lions, whatever, fuckers. Okay, so moving on to the. I feel like the strength of this team is the offensive line, so I'm going to hit them last because I feel like they are the star of the show, and they usually don't get remembered or mentioned, so they're going to be the last thing you hear about. But underrated on this team that you keep forgetting about is the wide receiving squad. Now, it's only 4 guys deep. It is not a deep team. I got to remind you. But every starter really fucking counts on this team. So we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is probably pound for pound one of the toughest wide receivers in all of football.
Well, yeah, look at his dad. You kidding me? Of course.
Well, yeah, but look at his brother. So, we've had versions of the St. Brown that have not been as aggressive. And though he is the smaller, younger brother, it seems like he's Equanimous's tougher side. I am pretty impressed with how he plays the game. He run blocks. He gets sky balls. He runs incredible routes. He seems fearless, and he won't seem to get hurt ever. So,
and he's always open. Don't forget, he's always open.
Good God, he's frustrating, but he's good. He earned his contract. They also got a first-round guy out of Alabama, really impressive wide receiver, Jameson Williams. He tore his ACL before the draft, came back after getting picked up after some suspensions and yada yada. Came on. Well, this year he looks all the part. He's a very special wide receiver, really good speed, incredible hands, pretty good route runner. If they remember to throw the ball to him, I feel like he could be one of the top wide receivers in football. May you?
Tyson, real quick, if you weren't aware, he's actually currently suspended for 4 games for PPE, so you won't be seeing him. And then literally 30 minutes ago, he's also under investigation for some gunfire in Detroit. So cross him off your list, at least for Sunday.
Well, right. Like I said, they are very thin at wide receiver.
And getting thinner.
Hit for them. That's a big deal. Okay. They're going to feel that up in the Motor City. All right. They also got 2 names that don't mean anything that you won't remember, and that's Isaiah Williams and Tim Patrick. Forget I said it. Moving on. Now we got tight end room. Really, their starting tight end is maybe arguably one of the best tight ends in football.
Better than Tucker Kraft.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
One of, not the best.
Okay.
All right, that's our guy. That's T Craft. But no, Sam Laporta. If you remember back to our pre-draft episode, Kevin, Coach Kev, that we had in as our draft specialist, nearly jizzed all over the place talking about Sam Laporta and how much he wanted him. I mean, he got very aggressive about Sam Laporta. He's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to really make sure I grind him into this, because he had every opportunity to come back on the show, and he didn't have time this year. So all I can remember is his raging erection for Sam Laporta and how we did not draft him. So Kevin, bummer. Come back on the show. We'd love to talk through it. But this guy is a really good tight end. Anyone want to talk about Sam Laporta? Because Kevin's not here to do it.
He's good.
He is pretty good.
All right. He was a killer last year. This year, he hasn't been as productive, I wouldn't say, but it doesn't mean we don't have to pay close attention.
It seems like they're focused in more on their running game this year, which I think is probably paying dividends on the scoreboard or wing column, whatever. If you care about that stuff, then yeah, I guess that's the right move. But this guy was a big part of the offense last year. He has the potential. And with our cover 3 defense, as we had discussed, it feels like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta have a lot of opportunities to strike against us on those about 15-yard outs, 8-yard outs. That seems like the spot to do it. So I'm hoping that they don't have a huge game. Now the real stars of the show here. We're talking offensive line, guys. This is why this team's good. This is how you build a goddamn team. You can take the losingest team in the world, but if you put together a solid offensive line and stick with them year after year, you're going to end up getting something solid. Now, they got Taylor Decker, who honestly is not playing very well right now. He had a pretty bad game last time. He had about 3 sacks on him. I feel like this is someone that Lucas Van Ness should be able to get some pressures against, should be able to do some power moves against. I'm hoping LVN gets a sack on this game. Otherwise, they got Graham Glasgow at left guard. Frank Ragnow, who is held together
Glasgow and Ragnow?
by Glasgow and Ragnow. Ragnow's tough as shit. He's tougher than anyone. He just plays through everything. I don't think he has any ACLs. I'm pretty sure they've snapped most of the stuff for horsepower at this point. This guy's just like a ball of gooey muscle. It snaps the ball and blocks. So he's Pro Bowler though. Kevin Zettler is doing a really great job in the run game. And then Penei Sewell, who is arguably the best right tackle in football. They're definitely creative in how they use this offensive line, and it kind of dictates how the defense is going to be run based off of how they're pulling, how they're doing different stuff. You can't ignore it. It tells the story of what they're doing, and they love trick plays up there. Those bastards. Ty,
We're doing a lot of them.
tell me a little bit about the coaches.
He is a tricky dude. He's also got him motivated. But the thing about Dan Campbell is he is the most unpredictable coach in the NFL. He goes for it on fourth down more than anybody. He's had more fake punts, fake field goals. He's thrown it all at you. Big difference between him and LaFleur is I feel like LaFleur is building to that. You know, LaFleur's got great plays too, but he's not using them in October. Whereas Dan Campbell is playing with house money right now and spending. He is all in and he is going for it. Makes him dangerous because it is hard to game plan for a guy who is just crazy unpredictable.
Yeah, he's also just crazy. How about that?
Yeah.
We can stop right there.
Straight up
But
crazy.
really, I feel like the bigger star is that Ben fella, Ben offensive coordinator. I'm not going to say his last name. His first name's Ben. That's all you need to know. And he's awfully crafty. He seems like, if Saleh had a creative offensive coordinator, he would still be probably the head coach over it. In, who knows? Hard to say. But really, you got to deal with Hackett. You got to deal with someone who sucks. It's hard when you're a defensive coach. You really need to make that right choice. That offensive coordinator, your job truly depends on it. And I got to say, he did a really good job of bringing in somebody that I didn't know anything about, and definitely is proven to be a trendsetter in the league.
Do they still have Jim Bob Cooter running that defense? I'm supposed to be knowing this, don't I?
That you're the scout.
I'm supposed to have the coach.
I can't imagine you get a guy named Jim Bob and you want to let him go. May you, statistically speaking, what do they say about this team? Give me the stats on the Lions, May you. What are the stats on these guys?
Well, honestly, I think if you were to quick Google search everything, they'd be considered the number one team in the NFC right now. They're at least like the hottest team in the NFC. From an offensive standpoint, over the past 4 games, as Chaz alluded to, 52, 31, 47, and 42. Like they're on a roll here, dominating. And from a defensive standpoint, their defense is actually number 5 in the league, number 5 in run defense, number 10 in pass defense. And it kind of adds up to a formula that they've been implementing here of basically offense gets out in front right away. Defense can kind of just like pin their ears back and get after you. And like all of a sudden the score gets run up and you just get run out of like the stadium. And that's something that the Packers need to not let happen at home if we're going to be successful on Sunday.
Yeah. You're totally right. Totally right. I'm hoping that we can slow these guys' mojo. It's unfortunate that they've had as much success as they've had this year, and we respect them now. And I feel like there is a bit of a culture shock happening in Detroit that it's undeniable. There was a time when you'd look at Detroit on a schedule and you just forget about the game. You look past it. It's Detroit. They're going to have some success early.
They won, 31 in a row?
Yeah. It was a good run, but they've certainly gotten our attention at this point. And at this point, they are leading the league. It feels like this is their time. This is their era. They're going all in. And unfortunately, we need to take this real serious. Let's move on to predictions.
Yeah.
Score predictions.
Got it. Ready.
Ty, what do you think is going to win? What's the score going to be?
Ooh. I mean, I always go with the homer bet, right? Like I'm always Packers first. So I definitely believe the Packers are going to win this one. But it's going to be 35-34 Packers.
Nice. 35-34. I like it. Mayhew, what's your score prediction going into this game against the Lions?
I think I'm going to Price is Right, Tony, and go 31-27. $1, Bob. I like to bet $1.
Ooh, I like that. A full field goal. Jazzy.
Yeah, we're going to lose this game 17-35. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, and I'm hoping that saying that the universe does the thing where like it goes, gotcha. See, you didn't believe. Now if you believe, then we'll win. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a smoke show. We're gonna get smoked on this one, guys. Sorry.
Way to reverse psychology.
You
the
had
universe,
believed.
Jazz.
The lesson would have been you should have believed.
Exactly.
So you're gonna go ahead and
I'm gonna
predict.
I'm gonna do all the things I do to try and make us win. I just don't see an outcome for this game where we actually win.
Shit. All right. Well, here's the thing. We don't have history on our side. We have not been doing well at home against this fucking team. And I want to personally take back Lambeau before we reclaim the North. Also, we need to win division games. This is not just another opponent. All right. We lost our first division game. We cannot lose any home division games. That's a fact. All right. This is it. I don't care who we start, how we do it. We need to come out there with our best ball and fuck these guys up. Remind them that we're not someone they get to bully. All right. We're the fucking people that run shit around here. It's cute that you guys think that you're in charge around something. But the reality is that, shut the fuck up. We're going to beat you. That's the reality. The reality is you ain't nothing. Go back and drink your rotten water and realize your team is a bunch of trash. All right. Nobody wants to live in Detroit. Nobody wants to breathe the air up there. Nobody wants to be there. Some things never change. You guys are dog shit. That's what I want them to think about.
Please, universe, prove me wrong.
Was there a prediction? Was there a score in there, Tyson?
Yeah, I think we're gonna beat them barely by 38-37. That's gonna show them. That's gonna show them who's in charge. Who the fuck's in charge now? Okay,
Yeah.
Give me my lunch money back. I'm in charge. That's me. That's my basket. Don't slap my basket out of my hands.
Out there for the third week in a row, just putting them through the uprights.
That's right. And we're gonna go back to the farmer's market unafraid of that bully. All right, I can slap my carrots out of my hands anymore. They're my carrots in my farmer's market. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back.
Hashtag reclaiming the North.
Yeah. We talking Green Bay Packers football.
Welcome back to Denver Chase. So we're gonna wrap up right now. We definitely needed that last break to remind you guys, don't forget to drink water.
Oh, yeah, definitely drink water.
Yeah. You can do both those things.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Have a cup of water and go vote.
Yep.
Okay. That's going to be next week. All right. So that's it. Stay hydrated.
Yep.
And Jazz,
hey,
break it down.
Will do. Don't worry, guys. We got this. All right. No matter what happens, it's going to happen. And that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happens, it's going to happen. And that's what happens. Say it with me now. Whatever happens, it's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Go back up. Just remember a couple of things. Thank you, all the sponsors. I want to thank our special guest, Tony, for coming in and just breaking it down like a goddamn champion. I want to thank Ty. I want to thank Mayhew. I want to thank Tyson. And I also want to thank last week's guest, Miss Caitlin Fauché, for Cato's Kicker Corner. We're looking forward to having you back again soon.
We almost forgot. Chaz has to read the comments from last week.
Oh, shit.
We have a comment from last week, guys. Chaz needs to read it. I almost forgot. We almost got out of here without our fan interaction, which we take very seriously here on Two Dads in the Chest.
Super serious.
So serious.
Very serious.
So thank you guys for sending in your messages. Again, if you write a comment, no matter what it is, Chazzy will read it right here on the podcast. Chaz, do you want to go ahead and read last week's comment?
I'm dyslexic.
So that's the listener. It must be that.
I got it. All right. Let's see here.
Doesn't matter which one. Just read it.
Okay. My name is Chaz, and I have a smelly, smelly butt. My butt smells. From the smelly farts and smelly poop, I poop out of my smelly butt. Sometimes you'll see me, Chaz, but then later I just poop and poop and poop out of my smelly butt that smells. And you know that's true because I, Chaz, said it myself.
He said it himself, folks. So again, any quote you write in the comment, he'll read. He's an actor. He's like, he loves it. So Chaz, go ahead, finish the thing.
Thanks.
Break it down here. No, thanks,
breaking it down.
Thanks for writing your comments. Really appreciate whoever you are. You're funny, handsome man. Go ahead.
Let's break it down with a Reclaiming the North, gentlemen. A hashtag Reclaiming the North in a 3, a 2, a 1. Hashtag Reclaim the North. Tyson, stop sending in comments.
Two dads in a Chaz, putting trophies on the wall. Two dads in a Chaz is talking Green Bay Packers football. Not exactly qualified, but answers the call. Two dads in a Chaz, talking Green Bay Packers football.
We gonna break it all down, probably leave out some facts. We gonna make some statements that we'll likely regret. Most of gossip and rumors made straight off the top. So crank up the air condition, cause it's bound to get hot.
Two dads in a Chaz, you know we live it and we live it right. Two dads in a Chaz, we gonna break down football for you tonight. Besides some rings and putting trophies on the wall.
Trophies, y'all.
Two dads in a Chaz is talking Green Bay Packers football. Yeah, we talking Green Bay Packers football.